In this video, we'll talk about four of the greatest American freestyle wrestlers whose names are forever etched in history. Their legendary careers are full of colorful victories, unexpected defeats, and incredible stories that inspire athletes around the world. Let's remember together how these wrestlers achieved greatness and overcame challenges on their way to success. This wrestler has won his country's national championship 17 times. He has won the World Championships 3 times. He participated in 4 Olympic Games from 1984 to 1996, where he won 2 golds, 1 silver, and 1 bronze. And after winning the Wrestling World Cup for the 7th time in 1997, he retired from the sport. All this about the hero of today's video, the legendary American freestyle wrestler and arguably one of the best freestyle wrestlers in history, Bruce Baumgartner. Bruce Robert Baumgartner was born on November 2, 1960, in the state of New Jersey. As a child, being too big to play soccer and for lack of other options, he eventually began wrestling. At 86 kilograms in 9th grade, his exceptional size went to his advantage on the mats, and by his senior year, he was already ranked 3rd nationally in freestyle wrestling. In 1978, Bruce enrolled at Indiana State University, where he joined the wrestling team and competed during his 4 years of college. By his senior year, Baumgartner had suffered only 12 losses in 4 seasons, and his win-loss record was 130-12. And in 1980, he had already won his first of 17 United States national freestyle titles. In addition to winning his 2nd national title in 1981, Baumgartner then also won internationally at the World University Games in Bucharest. After winning 3 silver and 1 bronze medal in international competition in 1983, Baumgartner began pursuing gold in 1984. He won nationals, the World Cup, and a gold medal at a tournament in Tbilisi. That same year, he earned a spot on the United States Olympic team and won a gold medal at the Los Angeles Olympics. Baumgartner's Olympic gold medal was a national milestone at the time. It was the first time in United States history such an accomplishment by an American wrestler. By the time of the 1988 Seoul Olympics, Baumgartner had managed to win his 2nd and 3rd World Championships in 1985 and 1986, respectively. He won bronze at the 1987 World Championships and silver at the 1988 World Championships. Also in 1987, he won an unprecedented 8th consecutive Midway Championship. Baumgartner won everything and always. His unbroken streak of winning the National Freestyle Wrestling Championships lasted from 1980 through 1996. Although Bruce did not win gold in Seoul, he returned from his 2nd Olympic Games with a very respectable silver medal. The most significant event of the mid-1980s, however, was his gold medal at the World Championships in Budapest. There, Baumgartner defeated Russian David Gobajishvili to become the first American to win a gold medal at the World Heavyweight Championships. Although things changed at the Seoul Olympics when Baumgartner won silver and Gobajishvili won gold, Baumgartner's revenge came at the 1992 Barcelona Olympics, where he defeated Gobajishvili and won gold. Baumgartner actually became the first American wrestler to win medals in 3 Olympic events. In 1993, Bruce Baumgartner won a gold medal for the 2nd time at the World Heavyweight Championships. In 1994, he took his 15th national title, and in 1995 he won the World Championship gold medal again. At his 4th Olympic Games in Atlanta in 1996, Baumgartner was named captain of the United States team and carried the national flag in ceremonies. He returned from the Games that year with a bronze medal, thus joining an elite group of 4 other American athletes who had won medals in 4 different Olympic events. In 1997, after winning his 7th World Cup of Wrestling, Baumgartner retired from the sport. At 185 kilograms tall and weighing 130 kilograms, Baumgartner's physical strength was mostly concentrated in his 46 centimeters biceps and 132 centimeters chest. Even so, his training partners and opponents claimed that mental toughness, maturity, and self-awareness played a significant role in the length and scope of his wrestling career. American freestyle wrestler Mark Schultz, an Olympic champion and two-time world champion. He and his older brother Dave Schultz, who was also a freestyle wrestler, won gold medals at the 1984 Olympic Games, thus accomplishing the unique achievement of becoming the only American brothers to win the World Championships and the Olympics. Biography of Mark Schultz begins October 26, 1960, in the town of Palo Alto, California. Since childhood, Mark was very interested in gymnastics and began actively practicing it while still in school. After high school, Mark enrolled at Palo Alto College, where he competed in gymnastics, winning the Northern California All-Around Championship among his age group. After a year, however, he moved to Ashland, Oregon, where he switched to freestyle wrestling. After half a year, he won his first district and state championship in freestyle wrestling. After college, Mark enrolled at the University of Oklahoma, playing for the next 3 years from 1981 to 1983, won 3 university wrestling championships. The first year Schultz competed in the under 80 kilogram class and he faced 1980 and 1981 two-time champion Ed Bannock in the finals. Bannock was preparing to become the first four-time university wrestling champion in history. However, Schultz defeated him by a score of 16-8. Eyewitnesses called about one of the best, if not the best, university wrestling finals of all time. The following year, Schultz remained undefeated and set the maximum number of consecutive victories. At the University of Oklahoma, Mark was honored as the top student athlete. At this time, his brother Dave was also winning varsity wrestling titles, but in a larger weight class. In 1984, Mark and Dave Schultz achieved their most significant success in freestyle wrestling. They both won Olympic gold at their home Olympics in Los Angeles. At the Los Angeles Games, Mark wrestled in the under 82 kilogram category. The 22 tournament participants in this category were divided into 2 groups. Points were awarded for winning bouts, ranging from 4 points for a clean win and 0 points for a clean loss. When 3 wrestlers with the highest points were determined in each group, they played among themselves for places in the group. Then the winners of the groups met in a bout for first and second places, the runners-up for third and fourth places, the third place winners for fifth and sixth places. By winning all the bouts, Mark Schultz became the Olympic champion. The following year, Mark won the World Championships, where he faced the strongest wrestlers from all Eastern Bloc countries who had boycotted the 1984 Olympic Games the year before. But this did not prevent Mark Schultz in the final of the World Championship from winning with a score of 10-5. Becoming then the only 1984 Olympic champion to win the World Championship in 1985. And when Schultz won another gold medal at the World Competition in 1987, he became the first 1984 Olympic champion to win the world title twice. At the 1988 Olympic Games in Seoul, Mark Schultz wrestled in the same weight class up to 82 kilograms. The tournament participants, numbering 29 per category, were divided into 2 groups. The rules remained basically the same, only the top 4 wrestlers from the group advanced to the final bouts. Mark Schultz lost the last 2 bouts in the group, taking the 3rd place in the group, and did not qualify for the 5th place bout, thus settling for the final 6th place. After the Olympics, Mark Schultz finished his career. But 8 years after the break, in 1996, he returned, but already as a mixed martial arts fighter, becoming the first Olympic gold medalist to move into mixed martial arts. Mark went on to compete in the UFC, and keep in mind that this was in the early days of the UFC when there were no rules like rounds, time limits, or weight classes. It was essentially real fights without rules. In his first fight, he faced off against Canadian Gary Goodridge, who he defeated by technical knockout in the 12th minute of the first round. Mark won the fight due to the fight being stopped by a doctor due to a serious dissection in his opponent. He received $50,000 for this fight. However, the back injury he suffered in that fight forced him to retire and never fight in mixed martial arts again. Nevertheless, he cemented his place in the mixed martial arts history books by becoming the first Olympic wrestling champion to compete in the UFC. After his wrestling career ended, Schultz became the wrestling coach at Brigham Young University. And by the way, back in 1991, Mark Schultz was listed in the Guinness Book of World Records as one of the 3 most decorated wrestlers in the United States. Speaking of passionate, implacable wrestlers, one can't help but mention John Smith. That toughness came to him from his childhood. Smith was born in Del City, Oklahoma on August 9, 1965 and was one of 10 children in his family. Wrestling was a way of life in his family, and Smith began wrestling at the age of 6. But the future champion lost his first 5 bouts, which infuriated him greatly. Smith was a strong competitor, and when there were no wrestling tournaments, he and his 9 siblings would hold their own tournament at home. These sibling bouts were intense and produced some great wrestlers in the family. John's brother Mark became a university wrestling champion, Pat Smith became the first 4-time university wrestling champion, and the oldest, Leroy, became a world championship silver medalist. These family bouts often boiled down to John and Leroy, who was 7 years older than John. These bouts sometimes bordered on fistfights, and John usually walked away from them battered and bloodied. This created a feud between the 2 brothers that lasted for years, but instilled in John that all-important iron will. He finished his high school wrestling career as a 2-time state champion, as well as placing 4th at the Junior Nationals and a silver medal at the Junior World Championships. Entering college, Smith looked like a monster who would take college wrestling by storm. But in 1983, his freshman year, Smith failed to make the tournament. Then in his sophomore year, in Oklahoma City, in front of his friends and family, Smith made the finals and lost. Smith was beyond furious, taking the defeat as a personal insult. Determined to be the best, Smith fully committed himself to the sport and discarded everything that was not directly related to success on the mat. Friends, relationships, and vacations were pushed to the back burner as Smith strived to achieve a singular goal, never losing again. The following year, after taking a break from college competition, Smith won the 1986 United States National Wrestling Championships. He also competed in the 1986 Goodwill Games, an international competition organized by Ted Turner in response to the recent boycott of the Olympic Games by the Soviet Union and the United States. Although the Soviet Union dominated these games, Smith won gold at 62 kilograms, defeating Kaiser Isiev of the Soviet Union.
They gave 2 to Isaev because they said John Smith rolled across his back, but he does pick up another 2 here. In spite of the way they're calling, surprising me. Time running out. There it is. There it is. Great. Great.
Smith was becoming an exceptional wrestler. He was a fantastic athlete with an explosive throw and very technical wrestling. His best technique was a high grab with a groin lift, but wrestlers were beginning to adapt to it by stepping back to prevent it. To counter this, Smith developed his low single leg pass, which became synonymous with the name John Smith. On the ground, Smith was also good on the ground, making him a very complete wrestler. Smith then won his first college wrestling championship, and his career didn't end there. He went to the Pan American Games and won gold there and then went to the FILA World Championships. Smith reached the finals and met Giovanni Salacci, a 3-time Olympian from Italy, there. In 1988, Smith won the university wrestling title again, won the United States national title, and went to the pre-Olympic qualifying tournament. There he faced Randy Lewis, the 1984 Olympic champion who had defeated brother John Leroy at that cycle's Olympic trials in a heated bout accompanied by protests. Lewis defeated John in the preliminary round of qualifying for the 1988 Olympics, and that defeat put Smith dangerously close to elimination. But Smith would go on to have two more bouts with Lewis, both of which he won. So, Smith traveled to Seoul, where during the Olympic tournament he suffered several finger injuries, an ear abscess that had to be drained several times, and a broken nose. But, battered and bruised, Smith still took center stage to fight Stefan Sarkisian of the Soviet Union for the gold medal and win. Shortly after winning the gold medal, Smith faced Sarkisian at the World Championships and lost. The loss upset Smith and he refocused his competitive season and won the United States National Championship. Smith then went to the World Championships and won gold against Canadian Gary Bae. Then in 1989, a bout between Smith and the great Soviet wrestler Sergei Beloglazov was organized. A six-time world champion from the Soviet Union, Beloglazov was no longer in his best form, but still very dangerous. It was one of the rare super matches in the history of freestyle wrestling.
Trained for a long time to be in this match, but he is being dominated right now by John Smith. 5 seconds to go. They're not giving a point. His knee must go down. Smith doesn't care. Yeah! What a great match, Russ.
Smith also won world and national championships in 1990 and 1991. In 1992, Smith went to his second Summer Olympics in Barcelona, Spain. Although Smith was the favorite to win the games, he had to work hard to reach the finals and have a chance to compete for gold against Iran's Askari Mohammadian. By winning his second gold medal, Smith firmly established himself as one of the greatest wrestlers of all time and without a doubt the best wrestler the United States has ever produced. He retired from wrestling and went straight into coaching, taking over as head wrestling coach at Oklahoma. His coaching career was almost as successful as his wrestling career. His pupils won 5 team national titles, an overall team record of 328-47-6, and he produced 95 All-Americans and 24 individual national champions. Smith has also been called upon to coach the United States national team on numerous occasions, including 2 Olympic teams. A fantastic coach as well as a wrestler, John Smith is the epitome of the competitive fire and toughness needed to succeed at the highest level of the sport he loves. Kevin Jackson was a beast both on the wrestling mat and in the cage. He was one of very few to win an Olympic gold medal in wrestling in 1992 and the UFC 14 tournament 5 years later. And it's a shame that many people nowadays haven't heard of this natural wonder. As a wrestler, he was able to win the World Wrestling Championships and the Pan American Games twice. And after retiring from wrestling, Jackson decided to test his skills in mixed martial arts, which was something new at the time. In his second mixed martial arts bout, he took part in the UFC 14 tournament, which he eventually won. This secured him a chance to win the UFC title against Frank Shamrock later that year. Well, whether he did or not, you'll find out by watching the video to the end. A native of Lansing, Michigan, Kevin Jackson began wrestling in 1978. In 1982, he won the Michigan State Championship in Greco-Roman wrestling for the first time and then went on to reaffirm his title. After enrolling at the University of Louisiana, Jackson won the national titles of university wrestling 3 times during his studies. And in his final year, the wrestler transferred to the University of Iowa, where he achieved a second-place finish as a member of its 1987 team. His statistics in university wrestling are 30 wins, 3 losses, and 1 tie. In 1990, he won the Pan American Championship. The following year, he confirmed his Pan American title by winning the Pan American Games and also became world champion. At the 1992 Summer Olympics in Barcelona, Kevin Jackson wrestled in the category up to 82 kilograms. The tournament participants, numbering 30 per category, were divided into two groups. Points were awarded for winning bouts, ranging from 4 points for a clean win and 0 points for a clean loss. In each group, 5 fighters with the highest points were determined. They played among themselves places from the 1st to the 10th. The winners of the groups met in a bout for 1st through 2nd places, the runners-up for 3rd through 4th places, and so on. Kevin Jackson reached the final, where he defeated Almati Jabrailov 1-0. By the way, Jabrailov claimed afterwards that he was defeated as a result of biased refereeing. In 1993, Kevin Jackson won the World Cup, but only finished 4th at the World Championships. In 1994, was a bronze medalist at the World Cup and only 11th at the World Championships. In 1995, he regained the World Cup, won the Pan American Games, and became the world champion for the 2nd time, again defeating Almati Jabrailov. And at the end of that year, Kevin Jackson won the John Smith Award, given to the best wrestler of the year in the United States. A year later, at the 1996 Summer Olympics in Atlanta, Kevin Jackson did not perform due to injury. In 1997, he won the World Cup once again. In 1998, he won the Toddy Cup in Tehran, after which he ended his wrestling career. But it should be said, a year earlier he started his career in mixed martial arts, which then began to gain popularity. Kevin Jackson made his mixed martial arts debut at Extreme Fighting 4 on March 28, 1997, where he defeated John Lobera. For months later, he stepped back into the octagon. At UFC 14, held in Birmingham, Alabama, Jackson needed just 2 minutes and 11 seconds to stop Todd Butler and Tony Frickland and win the middleweight tournament. Thus was born Kevin Jackson's star as a mixed martial arts fighter. Jackson's success on his first night in the UFC gave him the first 93 kilograms title fight in the promotion's history, but his December 1997 bout with Frank Shamrock ended in a submission loss. Another loss to Jerry Bollender followed, before he ended his mixed martial arts career with a submission victory over Sam Atkins at the Extreme Challenge tournament in Iowa. After finishing his wrestling career, Jackson worked extensively as a wrestling coach. He was the national freestyle wrestling coach for 8 years and was the freestyle wrestling coach for 2 United States Olympic teams. And because of his service, Kevin Jackson is a member of the FILA International Wrestling Hall of Fame, the National Wrestling Hall of Fame as a distinguished member, and the University of Iowa Athletics Hall of Fame.